Hey, I'm James from Smoking a Barbecue, and I love new grill days, and today is a special one because I have an exclusive first look at a brand new series called the AutoIgnite from Masterbuilt. What does that mean? Let's get into it. So there is not a lot of information online about this grill, given it's still December for me, January for you, and this isn't slated to launch in the new year at the Consumer Electronics Show. But thankfully, I happen to be a Google wizard. Okay, it was leaked on the Masterbuilt website, but it did catch my eye in the blog section. Particularly, I'll put it up on screen so you can see a few of the highlights. But Masterbuilt will introduce several new, highly connected and durable grill and smoker models. Consumer input drove many of the update and the models with a special focus on more durable construction materials and greater digital connected technology. Included in the CES announcement will be what we're going to unbox today, the Masterbuilt AutoIgnite Series 545, which will be starting at $499 and available in February. And what really caught my eye further down the screen later in spring will be an all-new Gravity Series. Now, I had the opportunity of testing a Gravity Series smoker last year, and I was really impressed with it. I put it head-to-head against the newest pellet grill offerings with smoke boxes, and they couldn't compete. I ran a pure wood fire, and I was shocked at how close of a result I was getting to something like my Oklahoma Joe's Highland offset with none of the effort that goes into fire management. But if there was one knock, it's spawned an entire industry of improving the reliability and the durability of the original Masterbuilt Gravity Series smokers, as they would almost want to eat themselves from the inside out with higher temperatures, wood fires, and things like that. And so if you started to add all those mods like sleeves to protect the liner, or better insulation to protect the controller and the fan, you nearly doubled the cost of the grill itself. So when I saw an announcement saying that Masterbuilt has heard this feedback and is going to be shipping a product out of the box with durability and reliability in mind, if it can still produce anything like the food quality that I was able to turn out last year in partnership with enhanced reliability, I think we might be on to a winner. So without further ado, let's get unboxing. So 2 quick updates. Whoever said the best part of waking up is this in your cup, I'm not sure knows what coffee is supposed to taste like. And the second update, which is actually more related to the video than is the unboxing experience so far. So it took about 3 minutes in elapsed time to get to this point. This is always the easiest part, but as you can tell, looking around, some assembly required is going to be my immediate next step in future. So one of the things that I love, if you haven't seen any of my unboxing videos from Kamado, which is a sister company to Masterbuilt, is the packaging innovation. Every time I've had the opportunity to unbox a brand new Kamado Joe, I'm blown away at how easy it is. The Connected Joe is my most recent one, I believe. Just pull it out of the box, set it on the grill stand, which I think is 10-15 minutes, and you are up and cooking. I'm gonna need a little bit more than 10-15 minutes. I will take you fast forward and rejoin you once we got this together for our first cook and in some impressions. Okay, so in real time, that was 2.5 hours to go from start to where you join me right now with the grill assembled and ready to go. In terms of how it compares to putting other grills together, if I use, I mentioned Kamado Joe as an example, which is, I think, the best out of the box experience for any grill I've ever put together. You don't really put it together. You remove the packaging and you are ready to go. So if that is an A grade, I'm going to go ahead and give the Masterbuilt AutoIgnite a grade of C. And this is very similar to a grade that I would have given in the past to the Gravity Series and competitors like the Camp Chef Woodwind Pro, or even the Weber Summit for that matter, or a Big Green Egg, where there's just a lot more screws and components than you might have had if you've ever experienced the unboxing experience for a Kamado Joe, where it's ready to go and you don't have to put anything together. So this is not too difficult. I was able to manage it all by myself. And I'll also add a caveat here that this is a pre-production unit. This is still in December. This doesn't officially get announced until CES in January, and customer units don't start shipping until February. I say that because in the past I had access to a pre-production Kettle Joe by Kamado Joe, and the pre-production unit had a couple niggles in fit and finish that didn't show up in the customer versions. I later had a chance to get a customer version for myself for our cottage, and a few friends had picked one up, and none of those little niggles that I saw in the pre-production unit were in the final production unit. So my hope here is that this is the same parent company. That'll be true for the few little fit and finish things that I think could be better. So when I put the door assembly together, there's a little bit of metal that had been bent or damaged. So there's magnets to hold the door. I don't need those magnets as the metal is a little bit warped and the tension of that door frame is holding it in place all on its own. I installed the magnets anyways, as maybe I'll try and get some pliers and straighten that out. I also noticed, speaking of pliers, a little bit of warped metal to our cook chamber on the bottom bowl, where some of that metal looks like it might have been dented during shipping. And assuming or sticking with the denting hypothesis, there's one or two pieces of plastic that looks like they had suffered some blunt trauma, and there's a little piece of plastic missing. This was also true in the firebox, where the set screw and the hinge, I found some spare parts laying on the ground once I cleaned everything up, and that's usually never a good thing, but I was able to easily reinstall that by sliding the metal hinge in together and just tightening that set screw. So outside of one or two little things, if I had to nitpick, but just want to be fully transparent, that the pre-production model here, there's one or two things needed to move up from a C grade and move ahead of some of those competitor grills like the Woodwind Pro that I also would give a C in terms of assembly. But this is not too bad. We've got other problems. There's bigger problems in the world than one or two loose screws and some pre-production issues. Let's grab some charcoal and fire up the AutoIgnite using its self-start feature. Open up our smoker. This is a pretty big deal. I'm excited about it. On the Masterbuilt Gravity Series, you used to have to slide a fire starter and get a little torch or something like that in order to get the party started. But if we've done everything right here, we should be able to just dump in our charcoal and get things off to the races. Hit ignite. Let that come up to temperature. So all by itself, our grills come up to the 300 degrees Fahrenheit temperature that I set for it. The only correction I realized later, the automatic fire starter is not like what I saw in my Kamado Joe, where you press the button and that's in contact with the coal and it comes to temperature. You do need to still use a fire starter. This just lights it for you automatically, and then the fan takes over. Worked really well. Once I figured that out, let's drop in our steaks. I'm gonna let those cook to an internal temperature of about 114, and then we're gonna try searing them on the top of our firebox. Okay, I've pulled off our first steak already. It was the smaller of the two. It just hit temperature. Let's see if our second one's ready. Oh, almost right there. 113, I said 114. Well, 114. That works for me, right on the money. So what I want to do now is crank the heat and get the top of our charcoal firebox up to temperature, but just out of curiosity's sake, let's see where we're at right now. At 300 degrees Fahrenheit, we have 422 degrees on the surface temperature. So I'm going to blast this up a little bit higher. Let's set our temperature and let the fan bring this up to temperature. It should only take a couple minutes while our steaks rest. We'll be ready to sear. So we came up to temperature quicker than our steaks were ready for the rest, so I've let them hang out a little bit longer. Let's see where we're at. 500 degrees, very similar temperature across the pit. Looks like 500. Let's give that a try. Looks good. Not bad. Slice into them. So we weren't able to get up to soapstone level sear temperature, so we'll see how this looks. But all in all, not too bad of a Maillard reaction on the outside, and also not too bad in terms of our crust. So what I'd be worried to see is a big gradient going from dark brown to light brown to sort of a light pink, then to sort of maybe more of our medium rare, which we have in our center. But this is actually pretty uniform on both sides. Let's take a look at our bigger one. We might have gotten away with that, I think, just perfectly. So that's actually a pretty nice medium rare. Get a couple slices, a little Salt Bay. Cheers. In the name of science, I could try again. Apparently just got hungry in that 2.5 hour assembly. Well, that is a really good steak. And even in these sub-freezing temperatures, we were able to get a hot enough sear surface on top of our firebox to turn out a really good steak. Now, I'm not doing a side-by-side comparison, but from memory, I've done so many on my Kamado Joes and many other grills. I would say that this is on the milder end of charcoal and smoke flavor, which on a tenderloin is exactly what we want. So for me, the real test will be, can we amp up some smoke flavor on something like baby back ribs or St. Louis ribs or pulled pork or something like that? I really am curious to see how far we can get into that 5 to 6 hour range on the charcoal hopper size that we do have, as well as seeing what the smoke profile is like, since we are cooking not directly over the coals, but running some of that heat in, kind of like how an offset works, which gives you really nice clean smoke. This is one of the signature things that my Masterbuilt Gravity Series did so well, and anybody who had the opportunity to taste the food couldn't help but remark on the quality of the smoke flavor, and I'm glad to see that that's a carryover in our Masterbuilt AutoIgnite series. So quick recap. Not before I try a few more pieces. So I'm going to call that a great first start. But how does the AutoIgnite stand up to some of the claims in the press release on the Masterbuilt website? Well, the first thing that they said is it's going to be easier to use than ever before and help open up a hobby I love dearly to even more people. And I have to say, once I figured out, again, not a lot of information, no website up at the time, but the placement of the fire cube, and then that's how the AutoIgnite feature works, that was incredibly simple. And the control panel got us right to our target temperatures, whether it was for our reverse sear or our sear in a breeze. So I'm going to give that a check. Absolutely lives up to that. In terms of the improvement in the quality, this will obviously be something we look to see over time, but I can already appreciate some of the differences that the Masterbuilt AutoIgnite has versus my original Gravity Series smoker. So first we have the hopper with its thicker insulated sort of sidewalls, as well as that cast iron top. There's also, this carries through underneath the grill. It was not really easy to show that in the assembly process, but there's greater distance in terms of our fans and our components, as well as our controller all the way over on the other side, not being as subjected to some of those higher heat temperatures that could potentially cause problems where that whole aftermarket industry was born. So far, very promising. And the price, like, let's not forget, this is a $499 grill. This is a really amazing company at that price point, especially if we're able to turn out some good low and slow smokes, which will be my next cook. Let me know down in the comments before I do that what you'd like to see, whether it's baby back St. Louis, pork belly, or something like that. We could always add some more charcoal if need be, if we wanted to try a longer cook like brisket, but I'm really curious to see how this stands up, especially since I'm already pleased with that convection airflow and smoke quality that I appreciated in the Masterbuilt Gravity Series, showing up in spades on our very first sample cook here with even something like a tenderloin on today's first look and impressions. That's it for today though. I'm James from Soaking Dad Barbecue signing off, but before I go, let me know down in the comments again if there's anything else you'd like to see the AutoIgnite put through its paces in advance of its availability this spring. That's it for today. I'll see you next time. I'm James from Soaking Dad Barbecue signing off.